My story continues. For my 25th year anniversary celebration, well, the last time we were together, we had a 9-patch party commemorating our 1983 move into our warehouse and quilt shop. Well, I showed you a fun way of making positive and negative 9-patches. Now, this is the positive 9-patch right here, and this one is the negative. Oh, it's just such a cute quilt. Well, as an added bonus today, I'm adding stripes. What a beautiful quilt. Well, I want you to meet the Burns team. We're 3 parallel stripes side by side, forming one tight unit. This is Grant right here. This is Orion here. Well, my sons are always ready to help out and get their job done. Their after-school responsibilities included addressing class flyers and sorting by zip code. This is Grant right here with 2 of his friends. Well, Orion said they were quite excited when they advanced from a plain old ladder to a forklift. Well, I dedicate these 2 quilts to Grant and Orion, 9-patch and stripe. 2 quilts made at the same time. Now, this first one has positive 9 patches with 5 dark red squares. And then it has negative stripes. It just has 1 green stripe going right through. The blocks are set together in diagonal rows. Now, I know that this one looks the same, but it is completely the reverse. The 9 patches are negative blocks with 4 red squares and positive stripes with just 2 green strips. Well, my sons just bought a new vacation home. Orion says they get these 2 quilts for their new home. Well, Sue Bouchard made this one scrappy with positive 9 patches and stripes. And you know, another one exists that is completely the reverse. Well, Sue also made this miniature 9-patch and stripe with squares that finish at 1/2 inch. That is just amazing. So if you have 2 sons or 2 daughters sharing a room, these are 2 perfect quilts for you. It's time to get started. I'm making these 2 quilts for my grand puppies, Tabitha and Peanut. Now, they are granddaughters, so I'm putting pink into their quilts. Now, this is the stripe right here, the pink with the background, positive stripe and the negative stripe. The 9-patch are going to be green. This is the positive 9-patch with the 5 dark, the negative 9-patch with just the 4 dark. Well, I already cut 8-inch strips, and they're all layered, ready for cutting. You take your background and place it right sides together with your 9-patch, and then I also have the background with the stripe all stacked up. Gosh, you can get this done really fast. Now, for cutting, the most appropriate ruler is the 12.5-inch square up. So just line it up on that left edge, trim off that salvage edge, get rid of it, and you're ready for 8-inch squaring. Now, I already put some glow tape on my ruler so that each time I place it, I can get that accurate 8-inch. So you can just stack them up, just cut right across that strip, and you are ready. Now, so that I sew on the stable side, if you take a pair, you see this is stable, and the top the other way is just a little stretchy. So I always sew on the stable side. I'm just going to put a pin through on each of those stable sides. Just work with pairs. We can assembly line sew on this. Get it done really quick. Okay, let me take this one, pin it right sides together. Use a 1/4 inch seam allowance and 15 stitches to the inch, or a 2.0 on computerized sewing machines. Now, I have that 1/4 inch foot on my machine, and it just sews such a perfect 1/4. Okay, go down one side, the stable side. You can pull out the pin if you want, and then just butt them one after the other. Now, it would make it easy if you used equal numbers of 9-patch and stripe, but they're different. in all sizes of the quilt. I'm going to see how well you remember all these numbers. The wall hanging takes 12 9-patch and 16 stripe. The lap robe is 17 and 24. The twin is 26, 32. Now the full queen, you work those two sizes together, is 35 and 48. King, see if you remember, is 44 and 64. Just perfect. Okay, I'm just about down these two sides. Ooh, get them one after the other. Now, we need to have the 6 by 12 ruler, perfect for cutting 2.5-inch strips. And this is what I have right here. Put a little glow tape at the 2.5-inch line. Just let me cut these apart. 2.5 or 2.5 strips for 25 good years. Okay, just take that 2.5-inch line and line it up on the raw edge. Cut one pair, set it aside, take the second one, turn it around, cut the second 2.5-inch pair. Now there's a little bit wider piece left right in the middle, so line up the 2.5-inch line. Always like to have a little extra so I can take the excess and get rid of it. That's the 9-patch. We've got those all trimmed. The stripe is exactly the same way. Line up the 2.5 on the raw edge, turn it around. The second one, oh, you can really get into a rhythm on getting these patches done. And then it's exactly the same with that very center. Cut off the excess, get rid of it. Now I'm just going to press the dark patches, the ones that have the dark fabric on them. So I like to put the darkest on the top, whatever the seam is going to be pressed to. This is the stripe. You set the seam, open, press. There's a second piece that's identical. Just open, press towards the stripe, and then this is the 9-patch. Set that seam, open, and press. And so they are in identical pairs. And with this step, we are just about done with the stripe. Watch how easy it is. So we lay them down. They're identical at this time, but it's these two little pieces that make them different. Okay, if we put this one right here, that'll become the positive stripe. Put this one beside here, we've got the negative stripe. So all you have to do is just flip those right sides together, sew them, press them towards the dark, and they'll be ready for setting into the quilt. So let's just set all of those aside. You set all the stripe aside. But on these last two, the 9 patches, this is the magic. We're going to put the green there. And on this one, we're going to put the background there. So we're actually creating those two different sets of blocks. Let's just flip them right sides together and sew these pieces on. Same 1/4-inch seam. You know, I've been thinking about Orion. He has done so many things for Quilt in a Day ever since he was very young. You know, I think one of the first memories of him really helping me was at the Harding Street Center when we were working on the world's largest quilt. It was 576 blocks. I took him to class that day, and he sat right in the middle. We were trying to get it in the Guinness Book of World Records, and so we were tying it down to batting and backing, 576 blocks. And you know, that day, as soon as we spent the whole day working, somebody called and said, "Hold the quilt. It's not large enough. You have to make it larger." Well, we never did get it finished. We actually took away the batting and the backing, and here it is hanging on the front of our building. Such good memories. Well, now I want to press again. Press the seam towards the dark. So I'm going to just set the seam here. There's the dark on top. You open, press right into it. Dark on the top here. Set the seam and press. Gosh, our rules are just the same forever. Now, take these two units, cut them apart. I like to put the one with the two dark stripes on the bottom and place this one right sides together to it. Get those all scrunched in there. Just wiggle match them. You can almost feel them, roll them in with each other so that those seams line up. And then once you have the seams lined up, I can feel it's good. Just do a little sliver trim. Oh, you don't have much. Can't do much more than 1/8 of an inch sliver trim on one side. Turn it around, sliver trim on that second side. And once you have that sliver trim, just sew those 2 seams one more time. Okay, let's hold it right in there. Feel it, line it up. When you have it lined up, just hold it with your stiletto in place. You know, Orion has been traveling with me most recently to my classes, and I've been teaching classes in Paducah, Kentucky every year. And I guess he learned right then, working on that world's largest quilt. Go bigger, Mom. Well, I had a classroom that I had around 100 students in. I could fit in 100 students, but every time we would run out of space. So he came up with the idea of putting a tent up for my classroom. He could fit 600 students in that class. That's a great, fun class to do. All right, I sewed both sides. Now, I'm going to just take the 2.5 inch line, line it up on the raw edge, cut it here, turn it around, cut it here, and you are about to see the magic. Okay, and take this, one more cut, getting less and less to sliver trim. Now these 2 pieces that were just sewn, place them with the 2 darks on top. Set the seam, open, press that way, press towards the 2 dark. This one, turn it over. All right, they're the same now, but they're gonna be different in just a minute. Okay, lay them out like this. Take these 2 pieces, open this one up. That's going to be the positive, ta-da! And on this side for the negative, ta-da! Okay, once you sew that back together, get those matched, then it's easy to do. On the back side, just press the seams towards the pieces with the 2 patches on them. Well, I have them nearly done. I'm going to go back and finish all my stripe, all my 9 patches, and I'll show you how to set it all together. Divide your patches into 2 separate stacks, one for each quilt. In this one, you have the -9 patch, the positive stripe, and this one, the +9 patch, the negative stripe. Now you want to measure your 9 patches, and whatever size they are, cut your stripe to be the same size, and they should be approximately 6.5 inches. At the same time, you're going to cut your solid squares, same size. Now I chose this blue background with the pink and the green in it. Now I know the dogs are going to just love this piece. For a wall hanging, you need to have 5 solid squares. In addition, you need to have one 19-inch square for your side triangles. You want to cut it in 4s on both diagonals, so the straight of the grain is on the outside and the bias or the stretch is in the inside. Ooh, this is going to go together great. You only need one. Now for the corner triangles, you need to have 2 squares. They are 14 inches square. You just cut them once on one diagonal, so you have that square corner on the outside. Well, I'm going to start and lay out my first diagonal row. I'm going to put the 9 patch right here. The stripe goes beside it, and the seams will lock together. And then one more 9 patch. Now this starts the first diagonal row. Let me finish laying out all my blocks. Add 2 stripes to make the first diagonal row. Then add the middle diagonal row, and the third diagonal row is just like the first. Fill in those areas with the solid squares. Side triangles come next. The 4 corners are the last pieces to add. And there you have it, the 2 quilts. This one with the -9 patch and the positive stripe, and this one with the +9 patch and the negative stripe. Now, Which one will Peanut like and which one will Tabitha like? We'll just have to find that out. But the easy part is sewing these blocks together. I want to work with these 6 blocks, sew them together first, and these 6 are also sewn together exactly the same way. Now I want to do vertical rows going straight down like this. So just take the stripe, flip it to the 9 patch, flip the solid square, right sides together, and then the stripe to the 9 patch. And then you take them and stack them from top to bottom so you have the top pair on top. Well, I'm ready to sew these together. So these patches are all set to go. Just pick up the first pair. They're already right sides together. Line up those seams, lock them together. Make sure you start at the top. That's always the tricky part whenever you stack your blocks. Now I just like to use my stiletto, line them up, and when they get all lined up, just hold those seams flat. Now this is a vertical row, so just pick up the second pair and butt it right behind the first one. Just keep on going top to bottom. You know, I have such good memories of Orion and growing up with the company, but most recently, he has been in charge of setting up the booths at trade shows. He does such a good creative job. In fact, we won the Creative Booth Award for his ice cream cone booth. What fun that was. He set up a whole ice cream cone booth with the check linoleum, and we dressed in our outfits. He dressed like a little soda jerk, handing out drumsticks. Boy, did everybody really like that. Okay, here's the whole vertical row going right down here, and then you just open those blocks up one after the other. When you flip them right sides together, you press the seam away from the 9 patch, and underneath you just press it in the opposite direction so that these seams at that thread always lock together. So let me just line that up and see if I can't get one going along there. Well, whenever the day was over at our ice cream cone booth, we looked out in the aisle. It was so funny. There was a whole row of nuts all along the outside edge. People just had to stand at the booth and eat their ice cream. And every time we still go to trade shows, people say, "Ooh, where's the ice cream cone booth?" Well, that one was fun. And then the next one was a cappuccino booth, a little coffee house booth. So it was great fun. There, you can see how that's all going together. It all locks and it all lines up. There are 2 of these rows. There's the first diagonal row and the third diagonal row. And when you have them sewn, then just press all the seams in one direction. You can go ahead and set these up for locking as well. Now, the middle diagonal row is a little bit larger. And this is what it looks like. I've done some sewing ahead of time, but these are the pieces that go along. You have 2 vertical rows on this one, and then you go back across the other way, once again pressing the seams away from that 9 patch. And then this time, seams pressed all in one direction. So take those 3 rows, line them up with the first vertical row, the middle one, and the bottom one, and you can turn the middle so those seams lock. The next step is to take the side triangles and sew those to the ends of the first and the third vertical row. Line up those square corners, let the tips hang out at the top, and after you sew those triangles on, just trim those tips so that they're even with the blocks. Okay, you've got your side triangles on. The next step is to go ahead and sew those 3 rows together, locking those seams, get them all lined up. And the very last step is the 4 corners. Always those 4 corners. And this is what the top looks like. Ooh, this is just so magical, getting these pieces all sewn together. Okay, I think the dogs are really going to like this quilt. But to add the corner triangles, it's best if you go ahead and take the side that you're going to sew it to, fold it in half, and put a match point there. And then do exactly the same thing with the triangle. Make sure you fold it in half, put a pin there so that whenever you line up those pins, you have tips hanging out on both sides. You let those tips extend on both sides. Well, the best way to sew on triangles is with the bias on the bottom. This was cut on the diagonal. It is a bias, so you can work with the stretch with the feed dogs along with the triangle. Okay, let me get that lined up. Stretch on the bottom, same thing. And it's a little bit tricky to sew quilts with side triangles. You don't want to stretch out the triangles too much, or whenever you try to lay out that quilt, it will never lay flat. You know, Orion's done such a great job on the boots. Boy, is he quite a builder and a designer. He took our store, our fabric store, designed those shelves. Boy, can we get a ton of fabric on those shelves. Just from 50 bolts of fabric, oh my gosh, to a couple of thousand now. Who knows? Can't ever have too much fabric. Okay, the corners are on. All the corners are on. These are the last ones that I need to add. Let me just get this out of the way. You always set the seam with the triangle on the top, open, and press right into the triangle. Looking good. Okay, now all I want to do is square the outside edge. And the easiest way is to start with a large 16-inch square-up ruler. And take the ruler, we want to do the corners first. You have 1/4-inch lines on all 4 sides of the ruler. So line up the diagonal line right down through. I can see that's looking perfect. Put the 1/4-inch line here and just tweak it a little bit till you get the 1/4-inch line there. Okay, it's looking good. So you want to trim up and around on the corners. And once you have the corners trimmed, you're going to have just a bit on the sides. The 6 by 24-inch ruler is the best one for that one. So line up the 1/4-inch line on the seam there and the 1/4-inch line right down here, and just trim off the distance in between. Oh, looking good. I have just a little bit more to trim off, and then I'll go on to the borders. Well, I thought I would make these 2 quilts look different. I said, okay, one of them's going to have a pink border, and then I'll finish off with that same blue background print. How about changing it a little? And the second one is going to have a green border. Then all I have to do is just layer it, machine quilt it, bind it, and it will be finished. These quilts were really fun to make for the grandpuppies. Well, Teresa made this country wall hanging in 2 values of lavender, and then she used a pretty large-scale print to pull the green and the lavender together. And Amy Porter machine quilted it with her walking foot, just straight line quilting. It's easy to do. Now Sue made this lap robe, oh, cheery reds, woodsy greens in the 9 patch and the stripe. And then the solid squares are different shades of green. Well, if you want to make a scrappy 9 patch and a stripe quilt like this one, just cut the total number of 8-inch squares needed in all different fabrics. And you can even make the side and the corner triangles from different fabrics. Well, in this second quilt, it's still the remaining scrappy blocks, but Sue used the same background, so the look is entirely different. Sandy Thompson did the free motion machine quilting with her long arm, and it is just beautiful. Well, I wanted you to meet my grandpuppies. Now, I bought them their own sewing machine, but they haven't learned how to sew yet. Now, this is Tabitha. This is Orion's dog. She's the oldest of the 2. And this is Peanut. She's Grant's dog. Well, I told you stories about Orion. Now, Grant is quite the entrepreneur. After starting out at Quilt in a Day, he started his own company manufacturing skateboards with 50 employees. They produce around 1,500 boards a day. Well, thank heavens it's not quilts in a day. You know, He even made me my own skateboard. Look at that picture on the back. So look, Tabitha, Peanut, look. I made you your own quilt. Look, new quilts. Well, I hope your family gets as excited about their new quilts too. So enjoy your quilting. Look, is that pretty? Look.